Hello, 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 and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to start your day with Shazad Khan and Maha Makhtoom only on PTV World this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Shazad. How are you finally
Walaikum
feeling?
assalam. I'm feeling quite a lot better.
His voice is back and he was already arguing with me with who's going to do the introduction.
And everybody who's out there, we definitely hope that you guys are doing amazing, superb. You're fantastic, fantabulous, and you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But Maha, before we get started, there's one thing which I want you to say, and that is that you look pretty and your hairstyle is amazing today.
Oh, thank you so much. I did it all myself today.
Oh, very nice. I mean, one should actually rely on their own skills.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. But no, I just wanted to play around today because it was an important show and I just wanted to try a new look. But thank you very much for
But why didn't you let me say my hellos, man?
Because I wanted to say hello.
All right, that's perfect.
Why should you say it?
Dream team, dream team. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is that we're going to take a look at what's happening all around the globe as well. Let's move on towards our top stories. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has said infrastructure projects will play a major role in turning Gwadar into a major economic hub.
And meet Lawrence of Abdoon, a furry feline who is the first diplocat to be appointed by the British Embassy in Amman.
So by diplo, are we trying to say diplomat?
Yes. Diplomat, diplocat.
Or diplocat. Yeah. Wow, crazy ideas.
Yep.
The 14th largest diamond in the world was displayed in New York and will go up for auction in New York in December. Well, I'll have to leave for New York then.
To see from a distance. Okay, and now Robbie the Robot, the 7-foot-tall creature featured in the 1956 science fiction film Forbidden Planet, was sold at the auction for $5.37 million, a record for a movie prop.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Things money can do.
Yeah.
And last but not the least, Fata defeated Karachi Whites by 19 runs in a high-scoring match, and Lahore Blues beat Islamabad by 5 wickets in the National T20 Cup 2017 at Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium. Great. Congratulations to both the teams who won, and for all the teams who lost, you actually need to work hard.
Yes, Islamabad lost again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, these were the top stories, and now time for a public service message, and Ma's going to do the honors.
Yes, I am.
Very nice.
Okay, so our public service message. So this week I'm keeping it all with the theme of road safety and road behavior and etiquette. I was driving around yesterday. I had to go and see my niece and my sister-in-law. And it was around, I was coming back because I had to come back to work, and there was something, and there was a lot of traffic on the road between the sectors as well. But what I realized was that when it's a time for people to get picked up from school, when parents or drivers or whoever goes to pick up their kids from school, people start parking on the road and start blocking the roads, like the actual lanes.
Yeah.
Now, what I started thinking was that why can't people just go further, park around the corner and walk down and pick up their kids? Then I realized there's no culture of walking here either. Now, guys, you do not block the road. It is not your road. It is for everyone. You are creating hurdles and you're delaying other people. And it's completely unnecessary and it's extremely lazy. And I'm sorry if I'm being quite tough today, but I just think we're at that point now. We've seen how much it disrupts us. It affects everyone. And we're always talking about road rage and whatnot. These things don't help when people are being so selfish on the road. So kindly, guys, if you could please just park around the corner or park somewhere which is off the main road lane.
And there's only one point which I would love to make over here, and that is that early in the morning, whenever you're driving towards work or whenever you leave your home, you really do not want people honking. Honestly, you know, it just ruins your mood, it ruins your day as well. Da, 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 da. Early in the morning, please don't do that. It's noise pollution anyways.
No, so actually I tried to avoid honking today, and so instead I started going in and out the lanes because people weren't moving.
Yeah.
But then I still was getting flashed by some foreign lady, and I was like, I'm not actually doing anything this time, but it's fine. So guys, please have some consideration for everyone else who's on the road.
And thank you very much that you talked about road safety as well, because today we are going to talk about food safety.
Yes.
So it's all about being safe, ladies and gentlemen, and when we talk about food safety, it's all about, you know, our food being contaminated or probably our crops being grown by contaminated water as well, and then we put different types of ureas in it as well and whatnot. There are fertilizers. So what we have to do is that for the very first time over here in Pakistan, yesterday there was a conference, and the name of the title of the conference was Food Safety and Scientific Harmonization. Now, as a matter of fact, for all those people who are out there, you might not know about it, but since I was a part of the conference, and I really do not want to give this information because we've got experts over here who are going to talk about this issue. And the primary issue was that what we need to do over here in Pakistan is that we need to bring all the provinces on one page or probably one platform, and that can be done by the federal government themselves.
Exactly. And the thing is, how does it affect us? How does it affect our day-to-day life? Because all of these things do have impact, and we have to start caring. Because what I've noticed that when we find out some negative information, like we had all that stuff last year with the CDA shutting down the, all the restaurants and stuff, people were really outraged. But then they didn't do anything about it, and they don't follow through. So it's about getting the information out to you guys, making you guys aware so that you're more empowered, and then you realize what you guys are eating and what is actually around you and what you're being provided for in your own country, because you have to have standards.
Exactly. And when we talk about standards, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about scientific harmonization, I think that's when we shape a healthier nation too as well. And for that to, talk about or to shed light onto this topic, we have been joined by somebody very amazing for the very first time over here in Pakistan, Chairperson Codex Alimentarius, Mrs. Avilo Ochiang Pernet. Hello, how are you? Assalamu alaikum.
I'm very happy to be here. Good morning to you all.
Thank you very much. And alongside Mrs. Avilo Ochiang Pernet, we have been joined by Sayyid Jawar Ali, who is the chairman of Pakistan Dairy Association, or known as the Milkman. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam ji, and it's a great opportunity to come to PT after 30 years to this place.
Great. Thank you so much for being here today.
And we'd like to share with our audience why it is necessary to have safe food.
Okay, but let's start with the first thing.
Let's break it down. So, Mrs. Avilo, what I want to ask is, what is Codex Alimentarius, first of all, for all those people who are out there?
Well, Codex Alimentarius, the name might sound very, scientific and Latin and long, but you would call it, could say Codex like a code, Alimentarius food, alimentary code. So the Codex Alimentarius Commission is a UN organization which was established in 1963 by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Health Organization with the objective to develop internationally harmonized food safety and quality standards in order to protect the health of consumers and ensure fair practices in the food trade.
Okay, excellent.
All right, so Jawar Sahab, why do you think that we need to talk about food safety when over here in Pakistan people are only thinking about food?
Well, it is not food safety, but it is good quality food, and food plays an important role in the health of our people, and especially the children. If the children are well nurtured, the nutrition is good, then they grow up well. If the nutrition is lacking or malnutrition, then there are many issues that arise out of it. So food and food safety are a very key ingredient of growth and wealth and health of the nation.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the conference, because this was the first one that took part in Pakistan. And so yesterday, what were the issues that were actually discussed regarding food safety? What are the key things that are being highlighted at the moment?
Well, I'll talk about what my role was.
Yes.
My role was to present what the issue is on the international scene and to put everybody on the same page by enabling the participants to understand what is harmonization. First of all, why is it important? What is food safety? What is the role of, for example, Pakistan in the international fora? Because Pakistan is a member of the Codex Alimentarius Commission, and the Codex Alimentarius Commission is composed of 187 countries. So these countries get together and develop standards based on science. So all these notions and fundamental principles had to be presented, and that was my role.
Wonderful.
To show that and to inform the public that all these standards are based on science, and not just arbitrary science, but the science is developed by, or the scientific advice is given by independent expert bodies from the FAO and the WHO, and that is the backbone of the standards that we develop. And these standards was implemented by all the stakeholders along the food chain and then, of course, enforced by the national authorities should protect the health of all the consumers in the world.
Okay, excellent.
All right, but would you, sir, what I want to ask is that, since we just talked about being malnourished as well, 46% of the population of Pakistan is malnourished. And when we, is it because the food is not safe to eat, or is it because there's no food?
I think it's both. Both in the sense that first, they need enough to eat, and secondly, they need the right quality of food to eat.
Right.
And so what we really need is what is good for health.
Okay.
So you need food that has the balance of nutrition, and it has the right quality, so we grow into a healthy nation.
Okay.
And since Pakistan is now considered as one of the emerging countries, it is very important that we provide the right quality and safe food for all our population, and especially children.
Okay, so then, as ma'am just mentioned, that you should outline what the standards are, what are the hurdles, what Pakistan is, what it needs to do in regards to the international line. So, according to that, how are we doing regarding performance level with the food standard, food safety standard? Are we building up towards meeting the standards or not?
As I said, Pakistan is now emerging.
Emerging, yes.
So in part of that emergence, what has happened is that after the 18th Amendment, food and food safety have become provincial subjects.
Yeah.
So most of the provinces are bringing their own food standards.
Okay.
And there is also a national body, which is the Pakistan Standard Quality Control Authority.
Yes.
And our recommendation is that the standard should be set at the national level
Okay.
and implement it at the provincial level. Because the national PSCQA do not have the implementation arm, and after 18th Amendment, it becomes so there has to be harmony between the national standards and harmony amongst all the provinces, that the rules, regulations that they are applying are the same in all provinces. Because most of the companies are supplying the food to all provinces.
Right.
So it'll be a very big discrepancy if one province has different standards than the other
Absolutely.
province.
So
Absolutely.
yesterday, while I was at the conference, I even heard Mrs. Avilo saying that there is a parliamentary bill in the process too as well. And then Mr. Pervez Malik, the Federal Minister for Commerce as well, he even said that, we're on the right track. But do you think that these parliamentary bills will actually be somewhat physical as well, or we can see the outcome of that?
No, actually, coming to the Constitution of Pakistan, Article 61 says that Pakistan, all provinces are a common market, which means that there has to be free flow of goods and services, which means that all the laws that are pertaining should be the same for all the provinces.
Right.
I think it would be a very good step if the law is passed and then it is implemented by the various provinces along with the stakeholders, which is the food manufacturers and food producers.
But the question over here rises that Punjab, we all know, is quite developed in that terms as well. Why do you think Punjab will actually let go the market which they have captured over the years?
No, Punjab is not letting go the market. I think the question is that whoever is producing in Punjab, the market is all of Pakistan. Depending on, Punjab is the biggest market because it has the biggest population. So Sindh is our second biggest market, and so is KPK. But they're all developing markets, and it depends a lot upon your purchasing power.
Right.
So it's and in the food business, it is related to population, and I must share with the audience that one of the developments or one of the growth areas is food today. We are producing enough food for our people. We need to just make sure it's the right quality and safe food.
But then half of the time we cannot export it because we have got pesticides in it and whatnot, we have got issues. So implementing all of the standards by Codex Alimentarius, I think, will help us even increase our exports, right? Mrs. Willa?
Absolutely. In order to have access to markets, be it regional markets or international markets, you have to have safe food. You have to comply with the requirements. So it would really, or it is a loss in many cases when producers put a lot of resources to produce food, and they export it, and it's rejected at the point of entry. So my message is that really the information on how to grow safe food, produce safe food, and ensure food safety all along the food chain, that will ensure the access to markets, and also it will also lead to the growth and the prosperity that has been talked about.
Okay, great. Because we were actually, a few days ago, we did have a show about exporting more made in Pakistan products, but that the quality control standard that came into question again. But as you mentioned before, it was about using science-based research to ensure a harmonized cooperation between the provinces. And you say you're coming from an international point of view. How difficult or how easy is it to actually, once you use the science research, to convince people that these are the best practices that you must adopt? And in your experience so far, how long does it take for people to start adopting these practices? Because you have to convince people, right?
That's right. That's right. I think that's. But I would like to say that the producers, and I mean, I'm talking about the farmers. Most of the time, it's a lack of knowledge. You know, they've just been producing the food that same way that their parents did and their grandparents did, and they don't know anything different.
Right.
So I think it's very important to bring this message, you know, to break down all these scientific terms and put them in a language, express them in a language that people will understand, and bring this information and this knowledge and these new practices to the farmers in a language that they will understand, and they will implement them, because ultimately they want to sell their goods. And we should not forget the fact that it's not only about selling the goods, because they consume them as well at home.
Yes, exactly.
You see? So it's also about their health, and also about the domestic market and the health of the domestic consumers. So it's really to the benefit of society.
It
if
is.
we
It
bring
is.
that
We're
information
not
down.
saying that we're not speaking of the benefit of the people, but over here, Yawar Saab, now I want you to comment on this. Do you think that we have got enough skilled labor to probably move on with such a thing, or to probably standardize? Because once it's going to be standardized, I don't think that people will have a chance to go the other way then. So do you think that we need to start teaching them as well, the best practices?
There is never enough skill. You have to keep, because it's an evolving system. So as the world is evolving, new standards are being set. This is a continuous process. So there are every company and every association, even our dairy association, we have done two things in our dairy association. We have a quality committee, and we have a committee to help farmers produce more milk.
Great.
And the idea is that this is part of the education. We are using tablets with programs so that we can show the farmers how to improve, because this is the new easier way of doing it. You can reach more farmers. And so it's so the skills are there, but we have 10 million farmers producing milk. So the problem is to reach all of them.
Okay, and it's not a small task at all. I mean, it's a very huge population. And also, I recall that we had people from, there's a government service that provide updates to farmers through text messages that now's the time to plant, now's the time to take it out, this is the seed you
And
should
we have
plant.
that entrepreneur over here on the show as well, and I think they're working in collaboration with a telecom service as well.
Exactly.
But other than that, sir, if I pose the same question which Ms. Maya actually posed to Mrs. Avilo, which is why science-based harmonized food regulation is important for Pakistan?
Well, science-based means there is a reason, there is a logic, it's been tested, it's been discovered that this is the best for the population, for children. For children, you have different kinds of foods, which is their need as they are growing up. For elderly, it's a different kind of food. So the science brings out what is best for the...
No, but the question over here is that it was always science-based. It was not like that, we started doing it without knowing what was happening. For example, if we are to grow a crop as well, we need to know the season, we need to know which fertilizer to put in, when to plow, and what to do when. So it was always scientific.
Science is also evolving,
Right.
right? It's not a constant science as
Exactly.
you go along, because whatever is being developed has some form of reaction. So we need to then scientifically test that whatever is, if you're using a certain kind of fertilizer, using certain kind of pesticide, certain kind of seed, Is it good for health? Is it not good for health? That's where science comes
Okay,
in.
and also because you've been in the industry for a while, you know, you are known as the milkman of Pakistan. So you've worked with these farmers, you've interacted with them. Do you think that they're going to be receptive to all of these ideas and changes? I know you've already been working with them, like you said, you're showing them things visually and trying to explain, but do you think that this will be a difficult task or an easy task?
I've now spent 36 years of my life in this field.
Yeah,
My first job was as milk collection manager.
amazing.
And my job was to work with farmers. And I will share with you that farmers are very receptive if they find that it is good for them, for their children, for their income level. They are very receptive.
Okay.
It's how the issue is how to get to so many farmers.
Right.
And that is now we're trying to use media and other ways to doing it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so now let's move on to, we've touched upon the food safety element multiple times, and Shahzad in his introduction said, you know, there's people using contaminated water, etc.
Or injections to make their cows milk quite a lot.
So let's start from the international, and then we'll move on to Pakistan. So internationally, when you have emerging countries or markets, and they are practicing these, because you know Pakistan's are the only people that are doing this. This is done internationally, where people trying to save money or etc. How difficult has it been to practice better food safety and implement those changes?
You know, I
Less
think
pesticides.
Yes, yes. First of all, our organization, the Codex Alimentarius Commission, I mean, including Pakistan, who's a member, among the other 186, because we're 187 member countries, and one member organization, which is the European Union, we sit together and we develop standards, food standards, based on science. And as I told you, the science is really the backbone. Once we've developed these standards, they have to be implemented by the members, that means by the countries.
Right.
And the idea is that countries either adopt, you know, take exactly as it is written in the codex, in the food code, into their national legislation, or adapt it to the local circumstances, at least take it into consideration.
Right.
And then it's not about having wonderful laws written very well in beautiful prose and poetry. It's implementing these laws.
Right.
And having them applied right from the farmer we talked about, or the
Yes.
fisherman, all along the food chain. And the role of the enforcement authorities is extremely important. And this is valid for Pakistan like it is for all the other countries in the world. Because whereas where there is no control, that's when you will have people trying to cut corners and trying to save money, or trying to, you know, do these fraudulent things. So the enforcement and the control is absolutely vital.
Okay, so that brings us to Pakistan, sir. You know, this is something where, yeah, I mean, everyone's guilty of it. We
sorry,
try to
man.
save money.
Can't help
No,
it.
but the thing is, you have to look at the economic factors as well. You can't blame them for actually, you know, using whatever, you know, means that they have, although it's not ethical. But, you know, when they have problems, like how about the food safety within Pakistan? How are we going to implement this?
Well, the easier way is that you classify in the food products what are high risk, what are medium risk, and low risk.
Right.
So if we can focus first on the high risk, I think that would take care of a number of food safety issues.
Okay.
You know, this is kind of street food, and I think Madam came up with a very important statement yesterday that in ASEAN countries, they actually have a standards for street food vendors.
Yes.
So I think this is something that Pakistan needs, and this is where a lot of our issues will take place or solved.
And now, as a matter of fact, thank you very much, Maad, for bringing it back to Pakistan as well, because where Mrs. Avilo said that, you know, it's all about enforcing, it's about implying. Now, how do you think that we'll keep on enforcing those standards again and again, because we do not have a food police, for example? I think this is what we need to come up with. We need to develop agencies or law enforcement agencies where they can make sure that, okay, whatever standards are being set are being followed too. Because over here, nobody's following the safety rules made for the people who actually drive on the road. So how do you think we're going to achieve that?
And at every level, not just the people
Yeah.
that are more easy to kind of coerce.
I think the issue is first of awareness,
yes.
knowledge, making people aware what is good for not even what they sell, but for themselves.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you start with the self and you are aware that this is good for me, then it will also follow that it's good for the others as well. But on the policing side, I think it's a long period. It will not happen in a day. But if at different levels we have, like Punjab Food Authority has, so I think we will be able to gradually move towards that, and also awareness of people. For example, you have a expiry date now, and if people know that they can look for an expiry date, this will make people aware. And when the people are asking the manufacturers, this will bring a change in the manufacturers and also in the people who supply the
So
food.
you're very correct. What you're trying to convey over here is correct. But over here, what's wrong is that, for example, if now you know where is the expiry date, there's another expiry date underneath that expiry date as well. That's what the problem is. So they keep on putting up stickers as well. So that's why we need a food police.
You're right. I think there has to be, as Madam very correctly said, the implementation part. And those people who are implementing should also be trained. And they need to also make those who are in the value chain aware of the consequences of not supplying the right food. So it is both policing and education have to go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very amazing. Now let's come to the point where we were talking about scientific harmonization. Now, how do you think that we're going to get all the provinces to follow the Codex Alimentarius set of rules or the laws?
So what are the next steps now
Because
after
we
this
want them to
conference?
do it all together, right?
Yes.
We do, and I think, as I said, this is a constitutional issue. And since the provinces, after the 18th Amendment, this has gone to the subject is with the provinces. So we are encouraging the government to take it up at the Council of Common Interest, where all the 4 provinces are represented. And the provinces then have to agree that we have a national standard, followed by the implementation at the provincial levels.
Okay.
Now let's just move back to Mrs. Avila over here. So since you're from Switzerland yourself, so you have got a bigger, well, not really a bigger, but it's a very scattered place as well itself. So how did you manage to get the Codex Alimentarius to probably standardize it for everybody who was out there?
That's right. Switzerland is a confederation.
Yeah.
It's made up of composed of 26 independent states, small states. Of course, I know Pakistan is another dimension, but all the same, they're independent. Nevertheless, there is one federal food law, and the same for the regulations. And this food law is applied all across the country in a uniform manner. However, the independent states, the cantons as they're called, are responsible for the implementation of the law. And they also have a mechanism, a coordination mechanism among themselves, among the 26 cantons. And of course, they always liaise with the federal authority. So I think this is a very good model, because the federal authorities do not have the competence to enforce anything at the cantonal level, at the provincial level, if we speak in Pakistan's terms. So this, I think, is a very good approach, because it ensures that consumers are protected exactly in the same manner in the country, whichever part of the country you're in, and it ensures, that the food that is produced also complies with the laws, and I think that is very, very good.
Okay, that's wonderful. But I mean, that's wonderful that we have that example. But it's an example of, a nation also that's much more aware of their rights, and there's a lot more education out there, and literacy rates is it's incredible there. So when you have those, I mean, because it's about representing everyone, and every country has to move forward together.
That's right.
When you have a country like Pakistan, where you have also literacy problems, then you have the economic issues, then there is that social divide and all this disparity happening as well. It's a much harder battle. It's not impossible. It's there if everyone wills it to happen, and actually practices it. But when you have all these issues, how do you think that, when you establish these bodies as well, you can establish every organization or how is, you have an example of all other developing countries, how are we going to get past that? Accountability, making sure that people are doing their roles that they're being trained to do.
That's right. I acknowledge all those challenges, truly. I acknowledge those challenges, and I think in case of developing countries, they're much harder to address. Nevertheless, I think one very important issue is sensitizing, raising awareness of of all the stakeholders about the importance of food safety, but also the consumers. At the end of the day, the food that is being produced is going to be consumed by the consumers, and that gives the consumers a lot of power, absolutely. So, but in order for you to knowledge is power. You have to know, first of all, what the issue is. And I think that's what we have to work on, raising awareness about the importance of food safety among the consumers, so that consumers, if you have a choice, you go to the market, you have a choice, and you look at the food and you say, well, this one, according to my assessment and what I've been told, does not look or is not
Actually, I
safe.
think what the consumers need to do is that they need to visit all of these factories where these breads are made or whatever is made. But right now, sir, since you mentioned that
we have very short time.
that we want to move on to the Commission of the Common Interest as well, do you think that the leadership of all provinces is willing to be there as well at the same time?
Well, I do think so, because I think it is every province wants their citizen to have good, safe food. And every province is keen that they must develop economically and also work with industry. One or two things I'd like to mention about the province of Punjab. They are looking at packaged food in the future, because that means they will minimize adulteration. They're also looking at minimum pasteurization law. So in pasteurization, you kill a lot of the bacteria, so it becomes a safer food. And thirdly, as an industry, we would like to, we are proposing to have a unified national food council, which includes all the stakeholders, the government, the consumers, the producers, so that we ensure that whatever is produced is the best food for the people of Pakistan.
Wonderful. And sorry.
Yeah, do you think, Mrs. Avila, that this is the way to go?
I think involving all the stakeholders is absolutely correct, and I would like to say that having the consumers as well, consumer representatives around the table, is also a very, very good thing. So all the stakeholders from primary production, including the farmers, farmer representatives, industry, retailers, and the consumers, academia as well, would be a very good way to start off the conversation.
Wonderful.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a food song to share with you guys. Go ahead, take a listen. When you guys come back, we'll go for a short break.
Established the norm that seed can be owned as their property, royalties can be collected. We will depend on them for every seed we grow, of every crop we grow. If they control seed, they control food, they know it. It's strategic. It's more powerful than bombs. It's more powerful than guns. This is the best way to control the populations of the nation.
That's what the streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call upon the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what the Pentagon say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way. There's a war going on inside, no man is safe from DDTs, PCBs. Every corner in the hood got a KFC. A McD's, it's crack speed like RED. Bullish, the pulpit, so caffeine. Kit Kat like a click clack, holes in their jeans. Everything get the more it ain't all what it seems. Little Debbie busting biscuits and sugar hot beans. Yeah, ain't nothing but a G thing. GMO, MSG, genocide, the street gangs. Aspartame, the street cane. Monsanto was Rambo, round up with ammo. Who would've known you could die from a diabetes and the itis on the dairy and a dose of the high fructose. If your ribs too close, so you might start a ride, might be a fool fighter. That's what that streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what that Babylon say. They call up on the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what that Finnegan say. That's what that general say. That's what that empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way. They shoot. Made you look at the labels on the food that you cook. Just say no to the cocoa box, cause when you Google the ingredients, you might get got. Is your milk on drugs? Cause your brain on Fox. Factory farm and spawn in the matrix plot. Globally warm and the saw enough cows and knocks. Driving the climate, driving the Hummer or not. Drive in like a drive-by. E. coli serves supersize with a side of super lies. So tell me what's more gangster than that? Bullets and burgers to both blades, burners to black. Breakfast is a little like Texas. Petrol's everything that you eating on. My pet store is backyard like Cheech and Chong. My school lunch pack a punch, food fighters on. That's what that feast them say. That's what my least them say. That's what that Babylon say. They call up on the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what that Finnegan say. That's what that general say. That's what that empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way.
What's beef? Beef is when you're 12 years old and obese. Clogged arteries, can't see your own feet until you up in ICU. Guaranteed to be in ICU. From that processed food, suicide is a suicide. Don't want no microwaves, no pesticides. Fast food, slow death in disguise. It's the wild, wild westernized world of deception and lies. What's beef?
Welcome back,
That's what
everyone.
the street them say.
Yeah, but it's really an important message if you read the lyrics, and it's about putting healthy foods into your body. But now we have to go for a short break, but we have to bid goodbye to one of our guests. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Maha, and thank you, Shahzad, for this opportunity. And I just like to leave with two messages.
Yes.
One is that the consumer has the choice, and he is the one who's going to decide what is good for him. And the second message is that we have one Pakistan, so we should have one food standard, which is beneficial for everybody.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for being here. Mrs. Avilo, any last messages, please?
Well, I would like to really insist on the fact that consumers should be made aware of the importance of food safety, and that there are certain steps that we could all take in our everyday life to avoid foodborne diseases. You know, like keeping, hygiene at home, hand hygiene, separating raw from cooked. Some basic, really, hygiene principles which can also help us avoid having foodborne diseases for ourselves and also the family.
Wonderful. And it's all about the little things that we can do, and it's also about the consumer. The power is within you as well, because you are the ones that are buying the product. So if you don't buy it, the vendor is going to be forced to look at what their practices are and provide you with better quality food as well.
Exactly, because ladies and gentlemen, we can keep on, or the leadership can keep on attending all of these conferences, ministers can keep on coming in and whatnot, but by the end of the day, I think it's the consumer's responsibility as well as to know what they're eating, what they're purchasing, because half of the time, for example, when you go to a store, there's this toothpaste, for example, if you buy it, there's this red mark at the back of it. It indicates something. There's a blue mark, and then there's a yellow mark as well. These colors are there for a reason. And as a matter of fact, since we do not know why they are there, so we just do not even bother to check.
I didn't know that, but next time, let's check. I want to
It's
check
on
that
each
next
and
time.
every product.
Okay, fantastic. So if you want any information with whatever we discussed today about food safety or any of the scientific research, do log on to our Facebook fan page,
Which is with the name of World This Morning.
our Twitter page,
World This Morning.
our Daily Mission YouTube page.
World This Morning.
And the repeat is at.
11:05
Have a
p.m.
wonderful day, be good, be safe, don't block the roads, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow
Till the
morning.
next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.